Hi everyone, I hope you're doing really good. I am a caregiver who provides care specifically to children under the age of 5. So today I'm going to be providing a couple of my icks for, well, a couple of my icks in childcare, Nanny edition. So I have 5 here. We're going to get into all 5. The first one is non-disclosed sickness of a child and or family members. Yes, when I provide care to family members, the children specifically, I have a list of non-negotiables and policies and procedures that I follow to a T. And I let parents know this prior to providing care. One of those things is disclosure of health and making sure that the child is of relatively moderate health. What that really means is a child cannot be sick. So pretty good health, I guess. Not really moderate, pretty good, They are not sneezing, they don't have a runny nose, they don't, they're just pretty good health. If they have any of those symptoms showing anything that seems like they're getting a cold or they have the flu, I immediately have to pull out of the service for the day because of potential risk of exposure to a lot of illnesses can look like a cold or a flu. So for my own well-being and for the well-being of those who I also have to service and I love servicing, and those people that I have a community. I'm around a lot of people who are immunocompromised, and I'm sure that there's a plethora of different nannies who will definitely care for a child who is sick or presenting flu or cold-like symptoms, but I am not one of them. So I love it when parents are honest, and it's really, really disheartening for me when parents are not willing to disclose information honestly and thoroughly and comprehensively. I have a full list of questions that I ask parents, and I'm feeling real icky about this because of the fact that I go through this quite often, especially in the winter time. I find it so breathtaking. It's a breath of fresh air when families are really honest about what it is that's happening in their family. If you tell me your child has been sick the last couple of weeks and, it's a minor cough, it's a minor, some possibly flu, obviously I'm not going to take care of the child. But, there are, again, nannies. I work for an agency, so there are, like I'm telling you right now, there are a lot of nannies who are willing to provide care for children in those circumstances, just not me. And this includes parents as well who are sick, or honestly anyone, even if I'm not providing, or even if the nanny is not providing care for that child or that person, it's important that that child is not exposed to those people, especially if I'm going to be taking care of them. So that's just what it is. Unfortunately, it's not always how it goes, but once I find out, it just becomes a situation where now that relationship is being compromised, because I'm not going to be able to care for your child for that whole day. And on top of that, I'm sure you're probably not going to want me to come back because I had to pull out, even though I mentioned earlier, before I even came in the home, that I would not be able to care for that child if they were sick or any family member who was exhibiting sickness around the child. So that's number 1 ick. I really went into detail with that one, but it is a really big concern of mine. So number 2, relatives, not parents, but relatives who micromanage. So this looks like a lot of different things, but parents or relatives that are, as a nanny, I have a lot of experience, hence why I got hired for the, through the agencies that I work for, and I'm being paid the amount that I'm being paid. So clearly I've been vetted, I am competent, and I am capable of taking care of a child or children. And I'm sure this goes for a lot of other nannies. Understandably, not all nannies are the same. Not all nannies have the same skill set. That is both a beautiful thing and a slightly dangerous thing, depending on what those skill sets are. So I understand. I have a lot of empathy, more empathy for this category versus the first one, which is really my number one ick. But this one is more of something that I do understand. It's just makes the experience a lot more uncomfortable, and you really do want a nanny to feel comfortable, because that's the best care you're gonna get from, you know, a nanny who feels comfortable, who has their shoes off, you know, has things are clean, things are organized, they're able to really move around the home, get things, you know, in the way, create different activities, you know, take care of the child the way that they feel is fit at that time, whether it's, you know, feeling, you know, because children have a lot of cues that signify whether they're hungry or they need to sleep, or they've used, you know, they need to have their diaper changed, or they need, you know, just different types of cues. They want to play, have stimulation. So it's really important that the nanny is able to make those calls. Sometimes it's really nice. There's a difference between a parent that's like, oh, that child is sleeping, let me go and take them, you know, and there's a way in which it's spoken, right? But there are times where I've experienced, and I've heard of these experiences as well from other nannies and caregivers, where they're in an environment where they're just like having someone almost breathe down their neck, and they're just kind of really, it makes it really uncomfortable, okay? It makes it really, you know, you can see how my body language is. I'm tensed up a little bit. I'm like, oh, I do not like those experiences, because it makes me feel as though you don't trust me. And it's even crazier because a lot of the clients that I work with, they always have a family member still in the home, which is fine. But, you know, it's a very luxurious experience. I'm here to really care for your child while you're still in the home. And I took some seeds earlier. I do need some water. I've been talking a lot, but we'll get through this video. As I was saying, there are, you know, most of the times it's really like a privilege to have a nanny. So there's respect that goes both ways, you know, respect for the parent, respect for the nanny, for the caregiver, however temporary that may be. And it's really important that the parents are able to kind of relinquish a little bit of their control, especially for children that are 6 months and up. The reasoning I say this is because a lot of the children, you know, this is really for most kids, they are attached to their parents. So when the parent is constantly trying, it's just like this power struggle in a way, where the parent is saying, you know, coming into the care time and trying to pick up the child, play with the child, and then leave. It causes anxiety within the child. It makes the child also feel uncomfortable and not at ease. They are confused, or, you know, not really happy, because they're wondering, where is my mom? I miss my mom. She was just here. She's in the house. I can hear her. But when it's the parent, even if the parent's in the home, if the parent just makes sure that they're not seen, the child is able to focus on what's happening in the current moment with me or with whoever the caregiver is. And it just makes that transition of power, temporary power, a lot more smoother. The child is able to kind of take the cues a lot more easier, and it's just a lot more pleasant, honestly, because you have to keep on like playing behind, like back and forth with the child and the parent, and it's not really fun, honestly. So that is an ick of mine. Micromanaging or trying to overly direct the experience. Again, I also, just for preference, I also have a list, again, as I said in my first one, I have a list of questions that I ask every family. So some of these questions include, you know, what's the schedule looking like? You know, do you have a proposed schedule? What are the, you know, parameters of care that you would like me to provide? Would you like me to provide diaper changes? Would you like me to ensure feedings? I know this sounds like, what? You're a nanny, you should be doing all these things. I've been in homes where parents do not want me to change the child's diaper. They also don't want me to feed the child. They want to be the person that does that, and that's totally fine. Same thing with putting a child down for a nap. So I'm absolutely happy to relinquish my control. I just need to know. So all these questions I ask prior to, and when things go out of whack, when in the midst of care. It really depends on what it is. Sometimes it's an easy change, easy pivot. Other times when it just feels like the parent is just not able to trust, that's where it can become a little bit difficult. Hope that makes sense. And I mean that in the most like loving way, because I understand it's stressful. Especially the type of care provider that I am, I'm very temporary. I come in one day and I'm not there the next day. And the child is possibly having multiple different types of nannies throughout the week or whenever the parent needs care. So you really are just meeting me and saying goodbye to me within the same day. So I can understand, well, not within the same day. I have to preface, I do talk to the parents prior to, but again, care is only one day for me. So I understand. I have empathy. Third one is overly nonchalant parents. There we go. I've had a lot of parents who are really, not a lot, but I've had a couple, there are a couple of parents who are really, they just don't care that much. Like, they're really just like, the child is, their child has a runny nose, it's whatever. Like, that's a little bit concerning for me as a parent, as a child care provider, because if you're nonchalant about one thing, one can assume that you could be nonchalant about a lot of other things. And again, that's pretty concerning. And it showcases a bit of overwhelm, maybe not managing certain resources completely, or you're just really tired, and I understand that. But as a caregiver, it could be a marker of neglect for the child, unfortunately. So I do notice it. I take note of it. Personally, it's never really it hasn't really indicated that in a lot of my cases, but I have seen some signs of neglect with some parents, especially with the root being one of the signs being just being overly nonchalant. Like, they don't really care. They kind of just let things happen, or not really go with the flow, because go with the flow can still be engaged. You're aware, you're active, you're just kind of flowing with things. The type of nonchalance I'm talking about is just, you're almost like, you're like the opposite of the micromanager. You're passive. You are very permissive of anything. You don't really care. You're kind of just like, whatever. I don't really care. And this can be in some areas and not all. They're still quite concerning. I really do like parents that are engaged but trusting. So what that means is you're part of the process for the developmental planning of your child's well-being. You're there to make sure that the child is okay. You are aware that I'm a caregiver. I have a lot of knowledge. I have a lot of wisdom. But also that I am a temporary person. That I am also a stranger. So you are asking a lot of questions. You want to be reassured. You want me to know what your layout is like. You're not just someone that's like, hi, do whatever you want to do. Send me off to the wolves. Just let me do whatever. That's a little bit concerning for me, because I have a lot of experience, but I'm not a member of your home. So being expected to kind of know how things work in your household is a little bit concerning for me. I will always try to ask questions, but again, a lot of parents who are asking for my assistance don't have the time. They kind of just want to get through this very quickly and move on and do what they have to do while I'm caring for the child, which is totally understandable. But it's really important that, the questions that I ask prior to are answered thoroughly. If there's any questions that they have, it's important that they answer those thoroughly, or they ask them thoroughly and get the answers that they feel like really helps them feel satisfied. Not doing their due diligence on my end and on their end is what really causes, on either end really, is what causes the issues that transpire in very over nonchalant people. You don't want to be nonchalant when it comes to, you don't want to be overly nonchalant when it comes to care providing and child rearing. So be mindful of that. Okay. Number 4, parents who do not respect boundaries. So this kind of goes into a lot of other things I've mentioned here with the micromanaging and the nonchalant parents, overly nonchalant parents, and the parents that also don't disclose the child's sickness. When parents are not able to, because it's not you necessarily, but when parents are not able to really respect boundaries of the child, of themselves, of the caregiver, you create the perfect environment for conflict. And overall, I mean, I'm really uncomfortable right now. I want to like move a little bit better. There we go. Yeah, for example, I was with a child who was sick recently, sneezing, coughing, and now I feel a little bit sick. So, and I mentioned, prior to even entering the home, I'm not going to be able to work with kids who are sick. You don't know what I have. I could be immunocompromised. That's really dangerous for me. I understand kids get sick all the time and they have lingering symptoms that last over, multiple weeks, and you don't always want to, be responsible for the child while that is clearing up, because you have your own responsibilities. You have to work and, all these different things. Understandable. Absolutely understandable. The thing is, there are nannies who specialize in exactly what you're looking for. I'm not one of them. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people that are like me, or those who are not like me, that really wish that parents were honest, just honest. That goes into my last point, which is dishonest parents. I really do not like it when parents are dishonest, when they're not truthful about what it is, where they are, how they're feeling, what their needs are, and then they expect me to kind of figure it out once I'm there. Some nannies, they can do it. They can swim with the sharks, okay? That works. They can run with the wolves, whatever. Me, I need a schedule, I need routine, I need structure, and that way I can provide structure for the children. So I expect you to be in a very clear, way of, I need you to be able to know why I'm here, what roles I'm supposed to be playing for you, and just keeping it reasonable, I know that sounds a little bit like I'm putting a lot of responsibilities on the parent, but I am a caregiver who is temporary. Ultimately, you are the parent is a full-time caregiver. So I am simply here to take the place of you for however long that is, anywhere from, I've worked with families for over 12 hours one day, I'm there for as long as you need me to, as long as I've agreed to, and as I just need to know exactly what it is you need from me so I can provide that for you. And I know exactly what it is that you're expecting out of me so that I can provide the best care for you and your family. So with that being said, those are my 5 Icks, nanny edition, and caregiving. And I want everyone to know that I love children. I love working with families, and I love working with parents who are clear about what they want as their objective within caregiving, especially with temporary on-call caregivers like myself. I hope this video helps with understanding a bit of our icks so that you are able to be accountable. Or if this is not something where you're not a child, obviously you're not a child. Well, you could be actually. You could just be curious when watching this video. If that is the case, feel free to send this to a parent who is in need of caregivers in the Bay Area who wants to have a booking with me, or if you just want to send it to someone else, feel free to do so. Have a great day. I hope this video was interesting and entertaining at the very least, and yeah, bye.